The Pooh Book of Quotations, compiled and edited by Brian Sibley. Chapter 5. Unfavourable atmospheric conditions, in which we find quotations about the weather. I don't know how it is, Christopher Robin, but what with all this snow and one thing and another, not to mention icicles and such like, it isn't so hot in my field about 3 o'clock in the morning as some people think it is. It isn't close, if you know what I mean. Not so as to be uncomfortable. It isn't stuffy. In fact, Christopher Robin, he went on in a loud whisper, quite between ourselves, and don't tell anybody, it's cold. The house at Pooh Corner. I say, Owl, said Christopher Robin, isn't this fun? I'm on an island. The atmospheric conditions have been very unfavourable lately, said Owl. The what? It has been raining, explained Owl. Yes, said Christopher Robin, it has. The flood level has reached an unprecedented height. The who? There's a lot of water about, explained Owl. Yes, said Christopher Robin, there is. Winnie the Pooh. Hello, Eeyore, said Roo. Eeyore nodded gloomily at him. It will rain soon, you see if it doesn't, he said. Roo looked to see if it didn't, and it didn't. Winnie the Pooh. Every morning he went out with his umbrella and put a stick in the place where the water came up to, and every next morning he went out and couldn't see his stick any more, so he put another stick in the place where the water came up to, and then he walked home again, and each morning he had a shorter way to walk than he had the morning before. On the morning of the 5th day he saw the water all round him and knew that for the first time in his life he was on a real island, which was very exciting. Winnie the Pooh. John had great waterproof boots on. John had a great big waterproof hat. John had a great big waterproof Macintosh. And that, said John, is that. When we were very young. These are my 2 drops of rain waiting on the window pane. I am waiting here to see which the winning one will be. Both of them have different names. One is John and one is James. All the best and all the worst comes from which of them is first. James had just begun to ooze. He's the one I want to lose. John is waiting to begin. He's the one I want to win. James is going slowly on. Something sort of sticks to John. John is moving off at last. James is being pretty fast. John is rushing down the pane. James is going slow again. James has met a sort of smear. John is getting very near. Is he going fast enough? James has found a piece of fluff. John has hurried quickly by. James was talking to a fly. John is there and John has won. Look, I told you. Here's the sun. Now we are 6. It rained and it rained and it rained. Piglet told himself that never in all his life, and he was goodness knows how old, 3, was it, or 4? Never had he seen so much rain. Days and days and days. Winnie the Pooh. I shouldn't be surprised if it hailed a good deal tomorrow, Eeyore was saying. Blizzards and what not. Being fine today doesn't mean anything. It has no what's that word? Well, it has none of that. It's just a small piece of weather. The house at Pooh Corner. The next day was quite a different day. Instead of being hot and sunny, it was cold and misty. Pooh didn't mind for himself, but when he thought of all the honey the bees wouldn't be making, a cold and misty day always made him feel sorry for them. The house at Pooh Corner. One day Rabbit and Piglet were sitting outside Pooh's front door listening to Rabbit, and Pooh was sitting with them. It was a drowsy summer afternoon, and the forest was full of gentle sounds, which all seemed to be saying to Pooh, "Don't listen to Rabbit, listen to me." So he got into a comfortable position for not listening to Rabbit, and from time to time he opened his eyes to say, "Ah," and then closed them again to say, "True." And from time to time Rabbit said, "You see what I mean, Piglet," very earnestly, and Piglet nodded earnestly to show that he did. The house at Pooh Corner. "Correct me if I'm wrong," he said, "but am I right in supposing that it is a very blusterous day today?" "Very," said Piglet, who was quietly thawing his ears and wishing that he was safely back in his own house. "I thought so," said Owl. "It was on just such a blusterous day as this that my Uncle Robert, a portrait of whom you see upon the wall on your right, Piglet, while returning in the late afternoon from a— what's that?" There was a loud cracking noise. The house at Pooh Corner. "Goodbye," said Eeyore. "Mind you don't get blown away, little Piglet. You'd be missed. People would say, 'Where's little Piglet been blown to?' really wanting to know. Well, goodbye, and thank you for happening to pass me." The house at Pooh Corner. "The more it snows, Tiddly-Pom, the more it goes, Tiddly-Pom. The more it goes, Tiddly-Pom, oh, snowing. And nobody knows, Piddly-Pom, how cold my toes, Tiddly-Pom, how cold my toes, Tiddly-Pom, are growing." The house at Pooh Corner. "I don't think Roo had better come," he said. "Not today." "Why not?" said Roo, who wasn't supposed to be listening. "Nasty cold day," said Rabbit, shaking his head. "And you were coughing this morning." "How do you know?" asked Roo indignantly. "Oh, Roo, you never told me," said Kango reproachfully. "It was a biscuit cough," said Roo, "not one you tell about." The house at Pooh Corner. The wind had dropped, and the snow, tired of rushing round in circles trying to catch itself up, now fluttered gently down until it found a place on which to rest. And sometimes the place was Pooh's nose, and sometimes it wasn't. And in a little while Piglet was wearing a white muffler round his neck and feeling more snowy behind the ears than he had ever felt before. The house at Pooh Corner. In a very little time they got to the corner of the field by the side of the pine wood where Eeyore's house wasn't any longer. "There," said Eeyore, "not a stick of it left. Of course, I've still got this snow to do what I like with. One mustn't complain." The house at Pooh Corner. "If I were a bear, and a big bear too, I shouldn't much care if it froze or snew. I shouldn't much mind if it snowed or frizz. I'd be all fur lined with a coat like his." Now we are 6. Christopher Robin had spent the morning indoors going to Africa and back, and he had just got off the boat and was wondering what it was like outside, when who should come knocking at the door but Eeyore. "Hello, Eeyore," said Christopher Robin as he opened the door and came out. "How are you?" "It's snowing still," said Eeyore gloomily. "So it is. And freezing, is it?" "Yes," said Eeyore. "However," he said, brightening up a little, "we haven't had an earthquake lately." The house at Pooh Corner.